Welcome. Thank you, Nicole, so much for doing this testimonial with me and sharing your experience in my coaching program and my food and mood coaching program. And I just want to, we actually haven't met together on video in this way in a few months. I think it was January that we ended. It's been a few months. I know, and I miss you. It's so great to see you again here. So thank you for coming back and offering this. And I wanted to introduce Nicole. She went through my food and mood coaching program, and we did a trade, and she actually helped me with the back end of my website. And she also helped me do like a really awesome redesign on my website. And she's a superhero in this aspect. So thank you so much for that. And it was, yeah, a total honor in doing our trade. And again, thank you for offering to share your experience in my program. And yeah, do you want to add anything there or?
Chandra is like Earth Angel. She like popped into my life, and it's funny. I knew that I was looking for, I don't know, I wouldn't say therapy, but just someone to really talk to. But I'm very protective over my energy and my space and who I share that information with, and who I even just really want to open up to. And she's been the only person that I've ever been able to say some of the things that I've ever wanted to say, that I've really wanted to address, and someone who can not only has a listening ear and such a spiritual energy about her, but the education piece as well. So yeah, it was such a blessing that we got to not only I got to go through her program, but I was able to help her out too. So yeah, happy to be here and good to see you again.
I didn't offer, do you want to introduce who you are, like your name and what you do, and maybe anything else you want to share there?
Sure. I'm Nicole Aircorpy. I live in Reno, Nevada. I am a web and graphic designer here, and I used to do HR for when I first got out of college. So my degree was in, and yeah, I switched gears about 7 years ago to get into my creative realm. It was just not doing it for me, sitting behind a desk in an office. I learned a lot of valuable, awesome things that I apply every day from all of that. But yeah, in the digital creative world, helping people with their businesses or whatever it may be, which feels really good to be able to apply something that I love into our everyday community and world. So
Heck yeah. Thank you for your work in my world.
yeah, thank you. So
Yay. Okay. So the first question I have, and I know you have notes, and thank you so much for reading notes. It's incredible. But the first question I have is, what was the obstacle or hesitation that would have prevented you from working with me?
So the only obstacle, hesitation, if we hadn't done the trade, well, I guess that's kind of how we got to the trade, but would have been money. I think we're all feeling it lately within these past couple of years, inflation. Like I said, I was really feeling like I was wanting to kind of dive into some type of avenue for someone to talk to. I don't know, like I guess you could call it therapy, but about not only just therapy things like food and mood, literally. So all these things have been on my mind for a decade, but really, really heavy, like the past 5 years. And so it felt like it was maybe a little push that I needed, but also I was like, ooh, I felt like I met Chandra and then I wasn't financially ready yet to either commit or what that looked like. And yeah, that would have been the only thing. So I was super thankful that she was able and willing to do a trade and gave me a huge gift in my life to be able to go through her program. So I don't know why I'm talking in third person. You're looking at me, but like, to
It's all
everyone
good.
else.
Who are we talking to? What's going on here?
I want everybody to see this because I truly want everyone to know like how special you are and how different your program is than so many of these types of programs that exist out there. Not that I'm knocking them, but it's truly something that is such a niche, and you're really, really special. So
Would you be open to going into a little bit more about what makes me different in your
ah,
experience?
totally. And so if you see me kind of looking back at my notes, I made them because I could sit here for hours and go on and on about you and your program and all that you do. So I'm not reading, but kind of helps me not go off on my tangents, because I definitely could. Um, so what makes you, I feel like, separates you in this realm is that two of the things that I struggle with and or do is acceptance and resistance. I tend to not accept situations or life as is, or I resist, kind of goes hand in hand. And I will I'll kind of be in limbo in life situations, or what it will more tends to be like stressful situations or hard situations, obviously things that I can't control, but I will kind of create scenarios in my head where like, ooh, how can I avoid that? Or how can I avoid getting sick, avoid getting disease? How can we avoid hard things happening to us? Why did that happen to me? Is it personal? Is it something I can control? Is it not? Then what do I do? And your perspective of this 50-50, life is 50-50, really, it sat with me. It like helped me. It's like all of these things that you teach in your program, I knew, but they weren't sinking. I wasn't processing. I was realizing that I was letting my gut or my brain drive me, and I wasn't marrying the two when things became hard or when they became stressful. So you pairing the education piece of understanding why our brains are doing what they're doing. I'm not crazy. I'm not different. I'm not weird. Nobody can not understand, as well as, okay, that's here and that's okay and that's normal. Now what do we do with it? Now how do we move forward? And how spiritual, emotional, and physical, all of these things pair together, because we live in this culture of I feel like it's kind of separated. So to sum that up, you really helped me identify why, like, I know that these things exist in me, but now how do I move forward? And you've helped me really shift how I get to decide. Like, I get to drive the car. My food really impacts my mood. I've always known that, but didn't really click. And so it was like, if I'm feeling down, it's not just, okay, that's what it is today, and I can't do anything about it. It's like, no, having that education and knowledge piece paired with just really your listening abilities, and you're giving me that space to feel seen and heard, and like, hey, I'm feeling this and you're not alone, and here's what to do about it in your own way. It's not like a one size fits all. You really listen to, okay, you've got this going on. I can understand that, instead of like, only eat salads and then you'll feel better. So yeah, you're really special in how you approach um, your clients and just people. You have that gift of connection and energy and all of those things. And so you pair that with your education, which I think is extremely helpful for me um, to move forward in like what I'm trying to address. So
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah.
You ready for the next question, or is there something else you want to add in there?
Let's see. They all kind of loop in together, but yeah, I mean, I would love to hit on these others. I have like these three things that, like, when you ask me what specifically would you like about the program, and I talked to a lot of people about your program as well, and kind of when I sum it up, and really to say, like, it gives hope. It really just gives hope. Like, huge things on my mind lately is like the crap that's in our food, the processed stuff, the chemicals, the things that I'm going to say me, and I feel like a lot of us are feeling it. Like, I'm a 90s baby. And so I feel like we were tested on a lot of things. We grew up with food pyramid, and not like excluding anybody, but we really got this idea of like packaged foods, and it makes it easier, and it's, all this stuff. And it was like, you don't think about it. And it's not anything to like blame on our parents either. It's just like, hey, yeah, this is cool. This is good. Like, makes our lives easier. Like, we never stopped to think about what we're putting in our body. And even like, okay, cool. Like, we put something bad things in our body sometimes, like that's inevitable. but how that actually is creating a brain and what that actually, like, I think we're really missing that connection of how literally the things that you're putting in your body when you eat or don't eat, it's impacting how you're responding to literally everything in your life. And you also really make that connection of like food and mood. Like, why am I feeling tired? Why am I feeling anxious? Anxious is like a big thing. And I know a lot of people are feeling anxious, myself included. And that has a huge impact on what we choose to put in our bodies and what we don't. And just the knowledge. There's so much information out there. There's so much marketing, and you have a lot of education and a lot of experience and research and connections in the US and outside of the US that is comforting to know. And also it kind of like helps narrow down like, okay, like I don't need to go out and is this true? Like, do I follow this? Do I follow that? Like, I don't know. You're not ever trying to like take advantage. You're just truly wanting to get your gift and this information out into the world. Because I know when you said when you moved to the US, that was like your big goal, is that if you were going to be here instead of Israel and around the world where they don't have some of these health issues and food issues that we have, this is how you can help, because a lot of people in the US don't have access to this. They don't have the money to have access, et cetera. And I did want to point on when Chandra and I were trading, she didn't have her group coaching yet. And so now she's got group coaching, and that's freaking awesome. And so I do feel like that maybe have been the avenue if we didn't have the trade option, and if, it had been a later date, I definitely would have done the group coaching, at least to just get like something involved. And then it's like, heck yeah, I'm going to commit, or whatever it may be. So, yeah.
Mhm. Thank you, Nicole. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm curious, you mentioned anxiety. Would you touch a little bit on your journey of what kind of your before and after and the tools and stuff that we worked with? And would you share a bit about your story?
Yeah. So, that was, I would say, my biggest thing. Because everything that I do or don't do is kind of driven, or has been driven, by my mood, my feelings, my intuition. I rely a lot on my intuition, and I've, you know, realized that I let it drive me. I would either ignore it, or I would be like, okay, these are my feelings, and now I don't know what to do with them. And touching again on, I told Chandra some things when I started talking to her about, where I was like, I can tell that this is where everything else like stems from, like whether I'm stressed or I get anxious or I get, sad, or I don't end up making healthy choices, and my time management, which is also something she's helped me with, is really stemmed from this anxiousness that I've created over 33 years of just my experiences. And accepting that. And when I came to her and just told her like, hey, I can feel that this impacts everything else that I do. She gave me a space that made me feel so seen and heard, because not only her presence, but she gave that educational piece of like, yeah, that's totally normal. It was your kid brain creating, what made sense then. And it was your safe space. And she helped me realize that I can talk back to my brain. I can change my brain. I can change my relationship to my thoughts and my physical emotions because of my thoughts. I can interrupt my brain and say, hey, I had this thought. That's normal for it to be here, but I don't have to believe it. And um, she just made me feel like I can finally do something about this. It was like I always felt like I could do it on my own, and I do, but she uncovered that layer. She uncovered that mind, body, spirit connection with our gut, physically and spiritually, to be able to really dive into why I'm feeling how I am, and my relationship to my emotions and my anxiety, and that I can interrupt my brain. The intrusive thoughts can be there, and that's okay. The big thing that Chandra does that I love is that there's a lot of ands. There's not ors, buts, black and white. It's, I can feel this way and it doesn't have to be true, and I can feel this way too. It's really helpful to understand how our brains work and that they're like computers, and that's okay to feel and have whatever thought pops into our head, but also how to deal with it, how to interrupt that thought, and just practicing and not having to be perfect, not having to have it figured out right away. And so you've really helped me deal with my anxiety and emotions, because it's become a repetitive thing that I've just created that I don't even know that I'm doing a lot of the times with my thoughts or my feelings. And so many days I'm when things aren't stressful, or when I'm not having something that's like crazy to deal with, it's a lot easier. But when these situations arise, I have noticed that I have dealt with them in such a better manner than I would have, such as like my dog died. Like that was something I was so afraid of, and like it happened. And I'm just so thankful that I had Chandra and this training and this coaching to be able to deal with life's really biggest, hardest moments, and accepting them and moving through them and figuring out like she doesn't say it's going to be easy and pretty. It's messy, and that's okay. And it's giving you literal tools on how to move through life, not only with her, but once the program ends, she gives you self-coaching tools that's so useful, that you like pat yourself on the back when you realize like, oh, I thought that way and I would have totally melted before. So that was one of the big things you helped me with.
Heck yeah. Amazing. Is there anything else that you want to share? I would say like you kind of just touched on the like mood piece, the brain and the emotion component, which if there's anything else you would like to share there. And then also if you would talk about the physical and the body and anything there that you're willing and open to sharing would be awesome.
Yeah. So let me find my other note that I really wanted to touch on that. Yeah. So she really helped me create or tap back into my connection to my wisdom within my body. It's something that I've known that I always have. But a lot of times it felt like too much. Like I didn't know what to do with it. It was too overwhelming. I would either shut down and be afraid of it, or just ran from it. I don't know. But understanding the foods and the things that we're putting into our body and how that really interacts with your physical body and your mood, like your mind, for you to be able to make calm decisions and realize when you're not in your calm brain, when you're not in your low level thinking, how to get out of low level thinking, how to get back into high level thinking, really playing with your brain and understanding that this whole component of food, giving your body and feeding your body these things can really help you get there. It's like kind of your vehicle to getting to your mood. Because I think for me, I often wanted to skip that step, or it was like, oh, like just eating, like I replenished myself, or overworking ourselves at the gym. These are common things that our culture tends to, we second guess everything that we get. And then just, okay, I'm going to revert back to what's worked for me in the past, or what I'm pretty sure this will work. I'm afraid to try something new. So, really helping me understand like what pairs, like in a meal, what to pair together with for my body to be able to get myself mentally where I want and need to be, which also in turn helps my mood, and that helps me regulate my energy and my spirit and my emotions, and how that is constantly interchangeably interacting with not only myself, but everyone else. Like when my cup is full, I'm able to give to others. And so, and also understand and help. It gives me a really peaceful outlook on not always needing to be understood, but seeing through like why people are the way they are and giving them grace, like more grace than I normally do. Like, how can I help you? How can we get through this together? How can we do this? And that connection and love, peace, and how to actually handle those situations in real time is such a huge blessing for her through her program too, which obviously we're dealing with a lot in the world. We always are. We always are going to have conflict and terrible things that we do to each other. But if we can just eliminate the fear and try to understand each other and create that love piece, like her program truly is all three of those components together, which makes us human. Like it can't just be your food. It can't just be your mood. It can't just be you go to the gym. It really is all of these things connected. So my gut and my brain are regulated when I listen and I accept and I don't resist and I show up for myself the way that I want to. And also sometimes I don't. And that all or nothing mentality is also something that I struggle with. And that's something that you've helped me with too, is to be like, okay, so drink the beer. Like, don't beat yourself up for it. Like, if you're going to do it, decide and commit. And that is like a huge thing that's really helpful, in my experience anyways, because yeah, if I didn't make it to the gym or if I ate bad, it was like, I would beat myself up. And so this all or nothing mentality is it's not very nice to our brains. But
Yeah, and a really useful one to shift.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's literally playing with our brains, like playing with, I love that you also have a really special component to people that are open, is plant medicine and exploring avenues for what works personally with someone, which is really useful and like special. And you, once again, you have those educational pieces that are really like, they're just really helpful for me, to, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm feeling this, but then you almost validate me and you're like, okay, yeah, this is why, like, that is totally normal. Like, this is, it's just really, it's like I gave my 5-year-old self a really big hug. That's what it feels like.
Yay. Yay. Would you be willing to share about physical symptoms like before and after?
Yeah. So let's see, hold on. I meant to write this number down. I'm going to do some math really quick. I've lost 44 pounds from, let's see, I'd say in the span of a year, to be fair. It's probably a little less than that. But yeah, I also, when I spoke to Chandra, who was referred to me by one of our web clients, I was just feeling like, I was in such good shape for like 10 years and then COVID hit. And then it was like, I really like sitting on the couch and not going to the gym, and that's okay. But then it became like, I really want to do that, but I don't feel good about it. And now I'm at this lull, and patience is a really hard thing for me. And I'm, also not 23, I'm 33. And so just like shedding that weight it's just different. Your body is just, it's also needs, that's the other thing. Like, just not accepting that, like, oh, now I'm just older and like it's just harder. It doesn't have to be that. It's an education piece. It's she helps with understanding like your hormones are, what are you eating? Like it shouldn't be that hard, and it doesn't have to be that hard no matter what your age, no matter what you're doing, which is like a huge hopeful piece. Like a lot of these diseases and these things, like she gives so much hope that it's not just the way that it is. It's not, it doesn't have to be just, well, now I'm sick or now I'm old, now I'm fat, it's doesn't have to be as hard as we make it, or as it is. It really is hard, especially when we don't have like a culture that really creates that for us. But anyways, a lot of it started with my brain, with my mood, with interrupting my thoughts, not resisting, not beating myself up, which then helped me have energy to cook better foods and to meal plan and to get to the gym if I wanted to go, and just to really change my perspective into, it was like I knew that I needed to get out. I used to know how to get myself out, but I'm not getting out. And so it really helped me to light a fire under myself, but in such a different way that I've never done or had before. Before it was like all or nothing, eat clean all the time that you can, go to the gym, be really structured and strict. And I burnt out on that. And then I was like, oh, how do I get back to how I felt good without really struggling mentally? Because I can't get to the gym today. I only want pizza right now. Like, how do I break this lull without being really angry about it? Because it takes a while to adjust your, your rhythms and what you're doing on a daily basis. And that was something I didn't really expect to see for myself after COVID. It snuck up on me like 3 years later. So yeah, just really literally feeling the most basic effects of like eating clean food, eating good food that is nourishing for our brains and our bodies, and how that truly impacts what our minds do, like in our our gut, which is, it's being talked about a lot more, I feel like. Gut health, that literally it's controlling everything that we do. And I love that you pair holistic practices with Western medicine, with, you know, whatever works for the person specifically, because that's a really big like thing that's been on my mind. And that's like being talked about, I think a lot more so too, is our Western culture of food, of medicine, etc. So helping me shift and not second guess or think everything I'm doing is bad or everything I'm doing is good, like not knowing. I always like teeter between like, am I doing enough? Do I need to stop? Like, is it fine? If it's broken, don't fix it. And yeah, you just really helping me physically, what I realize, that component of the physical piece of what you're putting in your body can get your mind to where you want it to be. It's like I was knowing that, but I wasn't actually doing it. And physically, it's helped me get better sleep. I feel like my hormones are more in balance. I don't feel sluggish. I mean, sometimes I'll feel tired, but I'll understand why I feel tired. That's the biggest piece, is that you're so much more connected to your body when you can understand what it's doing and why it's doing. So it's like, ooh, because I have some kidney issues, and it's like, ooh, if my kidney hurts, I'm like, ooh, why? Yeah, it's because of this. Like I can dial it down to like pinpoint what I did or didn't do to be in touch with my body. And just because something works for one person doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you, which is a really important piece that you teach too, to just like how to listen to your body and how to have these tools to do this forever. It's not a diet fad. It's not a one size fits all. It's not fast. It's forever, and it's a change, but it's worth it.
Wow, that was a lot of good words there. Would you touch on the cravings piece, like what your cravings were before and what your cravings are now?
Ooh, that's a big one. So, once again, I feel like a lot of us have this knowledge of like, ooh, the more you eat like starchy, simple carbs, or the more you eat refined sugar, the more you're going to want it. And it's like, okay, so I'll just stop. And it's like, ooh, that's really hard for some of us. I personally love pizza for life, and I love beer. That was also a big like thing when hazy IPAs became a thing. Let's see, probably about 2020, 2019, 2018. I don't know. It could be, yeah, I feel like about 2019. Anyways, I was never like a huge beer drinker, but then I was like, oh, I love these. Like I love the taste of them. I just love them. So that is kind of my weakness that I am constantly having to play with and balance. And I felt really guilty about it. I would feel like, oh, I'm like, I shouldn't drink, but I'm going to do it. And so then it was like, I'm beating myself up for it. And I'm like, oh, well, that's not fun for anybody. So either do it or don't, and enjoy it or don't, you know? But when I have these, I constantly am having the cravings of like pizza and beer or not. And so those are my two big pieces that I really play with. So I firstly, coming from you, which was so helpful, is decide you're going to do it and love it or don't. And like after that, like it's over. You don't need to like keep going back and forth in your brain. That's so much energy. You know, don't beat yourself up about it later, or it's done. It's over. So move forward, you know. And it's really given me a healthier relationship when I want to cheat and when I want to put something in my body that I know isn't going to make me feel the best. And you know what's funny is that it it hasn't made me feel as bad as it used to because of what I'm telling my brain. Like, yeah, okay, if I drink 8 beers, I'm going to be hungover no matter what. But that mind piece has so much to do with it. And I've noticed too that if I want the pizza, like, okay, like have a piece. I don't eat as much as I used to. I don't eat the whole thing. So then I'm happy. I'm like, cool. And I don't want anymore. I'm like, that satisfied me, fulfilled me. And that was how I used to feel. And that was my relationship that I used to have with, you know, this 80-20 eat healthy as much as you can. Because I think when we're trying to start up again, like trying to get back in shape or whatever, we put this really harsh, strict mode of thinking on where it's like, you can never cheat. You have to be so strict to get back at least to that point, and then you can cheat some. And that's really not useful for me, especially just because it creates that.
And everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Restriction leads to rebellion
Yeah.
every time. At
And
some
then
point.
and then you get to the effort point. You're like, whatever, I'm just gonna eat the whole pizza. I'm gonna eat ice cream. I'm gonna do all of it. And yeah, it's really tapping into those parts of your brain and your body that you think I thought I was, but I was only doing it like 50%. So I still have my beer and I love it. And I decide I'm going to do it. And then I'm like, ew, I don't want that for, I don't even know how long. And I just really go with how I'm feeling. And like, trust me, it pops in, like it's always there. Those intrusive thoughts are always there. But I love your analogy that you gave so many times, is that we don't have to, like, the goal is to not have them there. The goal is to allow them to be there, and we can move forward. So it's like you're driving the car and their passengers was a really helpful visual thing for me to um, help diminish these intrusive thoughts. It wasn't like an all or nothing, they can't be there. But to your point, the cravings, yeah, it's once you can master your mind with your relationship to how you think about food and what you want and what you don't want, you notice firstly that your body starts to crave that nourishing food. If I have a weekend of drinking or just not eating the best things, all I freaking want is like the yummiest salad with like steak. It's like you want vegetables, and that's how you can also tap into your body where it's like, ooh, it tells you, it's so much more regulated to be able to tell you what you want and need. Um, and then you can decide how you want to go about that. Like, is this weekend going to be yucky and fun and whatever, and then you're gonna shift on during the week, or however you want to do that. And that really is also plays into that this is forever. It's a lifestyle. It's not like, oh, I can't go to the fun function or I can't go to the restaurant because now I it's gonna get me off my little plan and now I have to start over, or now it really is a lifestyle tool to be able to tap in.
Yes.
So
Yes.
true. Like
Yeah,
so true.
it makes me so happy hearing that. I mean, I knew that this is where you got to. Like I was there in the coaching sessions and watching the pieces, but it's also just, it makes me so happy just hearing, you know, that this is like what you have in your toolbox and the
And
baseline and the, you know, it's just it makes me just so insanely happy. So thank you for sharing.
yeah, no, I mean, and it's cool for you, I'm sure, to see your, I don't even know what it is, your gift, like your work, your everything. And this is what happens when you have someone who is so authentic and so real and so true and doing exactly what their gift is. And that's you. And that's what happens when, you know, you're not just in it for money, or you're not just in it to, you know, have an ulterior motive. It's really like seeing your work done. And that's the thing, is that this information is pushed constantly on the internet and everywhere, but it's really the way that it's presented, and it's the way that it's perceived, and it's the person talking back and forth. And that's really how special you are, is that you have a way of working with someone individually and like seeing, and like they don't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm not going to drink anymore. Oh, like it's truly what you want out of it. Because I will admit that was something that I was intimidated about initially, and I always have been with any type of like workout diet program or whatever. Like I would hold things back and not say that, like, oh, I actually drink that much, or oh, I do this, I eat that. Like I would feel like I couldn't say that. And that's not the point. Like, what's the point if you can't be honest with yourself? Then it really is doing everyone a disservice. So yeah, you just being open to truly saying, like, what do you want out of this? And how do we get there? And is that 60%, or is it like whatever it may be? The judgmental piece of, and like the idea of what it should be, I think is really not useful. And it's really nice that you will listen and give your honest opinion, your honest feedback, but also, you know, it's not like, well, to get there, you have to stop doing these things. And that's, no one wants to hear that. You know? So it's really nice that you're open and you're listening, and you also guide, or you're like, well, if that's what you want to keep doing, then like, that's how you're going to keep feeling. So it's really what you want out
A little
of
bit of
it.
both.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so here's where we're at. But you at least have, I like to think of it as like a kid coming to their mom to tell them something that's like, oh, I think she's gonna be mad about it, and being accepting and having that piece to where you can meet people where they're at and also help them grow without literally taking their hand and dragging them and trying to get them to, you know, be forgiven.
It's a good analogy. Yeah, it makes me think of my little one and how, and I would say like the parallel in my coaching is like, yes, acceptance, and also here's the consequences. So it brings that like conscious piece, and it's not like you're bad or wrong for it, but now you're aware, and so now that even just that awareness shifts.
That's exactly it, with even the beer and pizza piece, where that awareness and the consciousness, where it's like, okay, do I want to, yeah, I was giving myself a consequence by like fighting it and hating it and doing it anyways, instead of accepting this is the consequence and I'm okay with it. And now we move forward. It's like that energy and like emotional area that takes up in your brain when you don't decide. I've always had a really big problem with deciding, and then I'm deciding and I've made a decision and I'm going with like with some things. And once again, understanding how our brain works and what happens when we do make decisions and we do accept consequences, and having that awareness and what to do with them is just a piece that I've never really had. And it's been really helpful and it's not been restrictive, and it's still allowed me to do the things that I want to do and also make room for this lifestyle that I've always made an excuse that it's too hard. It's too hard to make meals, too hard to do this. I don't want to do that. I'm making excuses, and it's all wrapped up into one. They all feed each other. But
Yeah. Yay. Yay for the breakthrough, for the massive breakthrough.
so many
Yeah.
breakthroughs. Ugh, gosh, so many. And like the feeling, like the wave of peace that just would come over me when you and I would figure something out together, just talking through it, or you would help me understand like the educational piece of like what's actually happening in my mind. And when I could take that really and do it in a moment of frustration or anxiety or sadness, alone, it was that's like seriously, I wish everyone this gift, that it's truly, it's what we are here for. Like that's
Yeah, I love that you're stumbling to articulate it, because I also stumble to articulate it, because it sounds cheesy to say it's life changing, but it actually is life changing. It's like the experience, you know, of shifting that internal experience is just, it's life
you're
changing.
yeah, you're human as a human, your human experience. We make it what we want, but um I realize there's a lot of us that don't have access or don't have, you don't, I mean, when you don't feel good, literally run over me. Like I could, there's a lot that I like, I'm so thankful that I have this information and have this, because I mean, yeah, if I, when I don't feel good, I'm not here. So, um, really just shifting and changing and giving people, um, avenues. You give people tools and avenues and tips, no matter their situation, whether they are a single parent working two jobs, whether they're me, you know, a single, I'm married, but I don't have kids. I like to travel, or, you know, you're rich or you're not rich or whatever. Like there is something for everyone. You don't only have to have all of these resources that a lot of people do have that you see are thriving because they have money and resources. You're giving this gift of, you don't have to have all of these things to be able to make these changes in your life that truly are going to elevate your human experience. And I, like you said, it sounds cheesy, and it will always sound cheesy to anyone who is not really like grasping the depth of like what that means, but it's everything. It's,
I have
yeah.
a story that's just in my brain that really wants to be shared. I have a new client, and it was so sweet. At the end of our last call, she just kind of like asked me, she's like, so am I like just really basic? Like, and kind of in this like, oh gosh, am I just like, you know, and I've had other people say like I'm before kindergarten or this, like, and I'm like, yes, this is all like really basic stuff. And most people don't know it, you know, like both. Like it's like, it
Yeah.
is such simple basic things, but most, and it just having, yeah, having the access and understanding these internal tools, it's, yeah,
Yeah.
I want everybody to have them. They're, yeah.
And you know, that's what we got caught up in as adults, is like really like the point of life is to unravel what you've become so you can get back to who you are, you know. We have all these experiences and these things that happen to us that changes how we think, and the most basic of things, we know them, they're buried in there somewhere, but yeah, it's like that comparison, it's a thief, you know, and that what we should know or what we should do and all of that, it's like you help us remember those really foundational important pieces that all of us have. We all have it. You don't, it's just, you're just helping us like flourish our garden again, like water it again. It's like all of these pieces are there, and yeah, like nobody's less or more for, you know, having an understanding and whatnot. And you give that to people without having to be, you know, go through like a psychology course or, you know, stuff like that. It's that connection piece that you're able to pair everything with is crucial. And it really ties everything together. It's like, it feels like it's not like, oh, that works for them, I can't do that. You know, I think there's a lot of mentality around that, or just really the fear of what to trust. Like there's like, I have that. It's like, okay, well, do I do this? Do I do that? Do I eat this? Do I not eat that? Like I, you know, and it's not this or that. It's, there's so much out there that, but it doesn't have to be so hard. It's pretty simple, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I'm curious, I'm guessing that the subtext to that is like using your own body wisdom to make those decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, tapping back in, like literally tapping into your tools and your heart, your spirit, that no matter what experience you went through, no matter how you grew up, no matter where you grew up, no matter, you know, I think you really do a good job of giving that love piece back to yourself, because that is where so much bleeds out or stems from, right? As if we're feeling loved, as if we're feeling safe. So then, yeah, if your cup is full, you can give to others. But I love that you take any experience, any path, any whatever it has been, and like you help reconnect yourself to yourself, your self-love, because that's a big piece of it. If you don't love yourself, you can do all of these things, but that emotional mind, gut, spirit connection piece is huge. And we can tell ourselves that, but you really help make that connection of like, firstly, just looking at it and just being like, what's here? Turn the lights on in the room. Look at all the piles of clothes. And it's fine for them to be there. Like, don't beat yourself up that they're there. And now what do we do with them? Because we all have them. We all do. It's not, you know, someone is better than you or farther ahead of you or whatever. And in the realm, in the world of social media, makes it a lot tougher, in my opinion, to not play that comparison game, to not, feel like you should be somewhere else in your life or whatever that looks like. It's trusting and being, just being, whatever, wherever it is, like being on the journey and not just trying to get to the destination of whatever your goals are.
Can I ask you a couple more questions?
Absolutely. Ask away.
What would be other benefits of our work together? Like, kind of like, how has it potentially rippled out into your life?
Yeah. So touched on that. So truly, it's like I have too much that I want to say. Like I said, really, the way that your program is structured, I think, is extremely helpful to know for those of you who have no idea, like like, is it just okay? Do we just talk every week, or what does it look like? And the resources and the tools, like the modules, and just how you have your program set up, is really beneficial, because it's, I don't want to say homework, but it sets you up for you to start looking at your mind and yourself without it being scary and without it being daunting. And you can take these pieces and these tools that you give in your program, and you can build upon them as much as you want. I can take these and do them myself over and over again. I can literally use any of these pieces in any point of my life, whether it's a big, stressful, scary situation, or a win, or a celebration, or whatever it is. And I think that's one of the biggest things, that it's a key takeaway. You're not trying to hoard this information like, oh, you have to pay me more money if you want to like know more. It's like, no, it's the gift that keeps giving, and you're just going to literally flourish with this. But that's one of them. A really big one. Hold on, let me find it.
I'll fill in
Yes.
the piece there that you're saying but not saying, but that like with my program content, you get like lifetime access, and it's
Totally.
so many videos, so many pieces that we sometimes don't even touch on, but it's always there for you to
Right.
go back to, and tools to use for life.
Yeah. And like your videos, those were really helpful. Yeah. Sorry. I did a terrible job of describing that. It's like in my head, so I know what I'm talking about. But um, so it's like, your modules that you'll like, the kind of, I don't know, the piece that you're going to work on and like try to understand for that week. Having the videos that you talk about, like literally the understanding of your brain, of why it's saying these things and why they're there, and then what that means and how we choose to move and how we can interrupt it and all of those things. having that initially before your conversation with you to help get your mind, not only like you can come with a topic like, hey, I want to talk about this, but that's really what I keep going back to, is this education piece of helping us understand that education piece of, okay, I have this topic I want to talk about, and this has helped me open up and wrap my mind around like why I have this thing here, what can I do about it, how to go about it, or here's where I'm stuck, or this is, and those pieces that you have not only have lifetime access to, but beforehand to get your wheels spinning and to help get you into a different perspective of, just because like if you're just talking about it, it's like I can talk about it until I'm blue in the face, but how am I recreating like these pathways, and that's what I was going to touch on, is that you've helped me address and like get into the under layers of these neural pathways and these emotions that I have had and didn't even really know that I had for so long. And you helped me with my relationship to my thoughts and my emotions, because that's like such a big one for me. And you've helped me accept them and actually process them. I thought I was processing them and I'm not. I was holding them here and then trying to push them out. It's like, okay, let it hurt me and let it sit there. But it would spin, it would buffer. And you really helped me look at them from a different view and accept that they're there, and accept myself as it's okay. And I don't have to just, okay, that's it. It's, you've helped me really deal with my emotions and my emotions to everything, and my relationship to everything, which is food, which is, having those same connections with people, and also regurgitating how awesome all of this information is, without just wanting to barf it on people and, shove it down their throat, which is like a hard one for me, because I'm like, oh, it's so informative. That's not gonna be good. Just, yeah. But, yeah, there's so much. it's just, it's just so helpful. And I guess really what you've done for me too is I had always avoided therapy or something like that to talk about this stuff, because it feels so exhausting and daunting to like talk about these things and go tell someone your life story or whatever. And then especially if you have not such a great experience, then it really deters you from ever really looking at that. And you helped me look at all these things without it being really awful and scary and, you know, which I was like, oof, like that'll end up happening, like, and that's okay. But no, it was like really getting into high level thinking and enjoying it and starting to make that your normal. And the scratchy, it's uncomfortable at first, because honestly, like a person that's helping you look at these things can be really triggering, and it can be angering sometimes to, have someone respond in a way that you're like, I know that, but da 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 da. And it's, you're really good at listening and holding the space, and also giving that push if you want and need it, and it's like, or you're good at recognizing too, like, okay, this isn't the best way to go about that. Like, let's maybe shift gears. Let's pause. I love like the word pause, because it doesn't mean you're ignoring it or you're shoving it down, but let's maybe reroute. Let's pivot, and that's the biggest thing that creates that connection piece, is that when we can really feel seen and heard, because we know that she was there, right? We know that's there, and that's not what we're not willing to face. It's how to get there. It's the tools of how to uncover and move forward. And yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can I ask you one last question? And then you're also welcome to add in anything if you feel like you've missed something. And I think you've said it a few times, but my question would be, why would you recommend someone to coach with me?
We need another hour. I've practiced this in my head so many times because I have a good amount of friends that I'm like, ooh, like this is, and I don't like say too much, but I'm just like, oh, this is, yeah, like I have perfect person for information about this. Um, why? Gosh, I see a lot of people in my circle and out of my circle. We're all facing this hardship of disease, um, mental health, uh, yeah, our food, a lot of these things. And I'm seeing it, I guess, maybe now that I'm hitting my 30s, is that this accumulation of eating processed foods, of um, drinking, of not putting nourishing things in our body. Also, I'm seeing it take a toll on myself, many of my friends, mostly like it shows up in inflammation, or it shows up in nausea, it shows up in anxiety. It's a big one. Um, these autoimmune diseases, even cancer, I've seen a lot of that. And all of it really goes back to our mind, body, spirit, and really what we're putting in our food and in our body, and gut health. Like that's kind of where I start when I say like, this is why I would recommend, because gut health is where all of those things start. Also, it's literally your second brain. And I love this analogy that you had too, when our bathtub is full. So like everything is going to have toxins. That's unavoidable. And that's okay. Cause that's a big thing that was in my head where I'm like, oh my God, I just like don't do anything because everything has something bad in it. It's like, no, that's not helpful. But when we can limit the water in our bathtub to not overflowing, I feel like a lot of us are overflowing. We're stressed, we're mad, whatever. And yeah, going back to the gut health and really taking care of our bodies in the simplest form, and in like an easy form. Like we all have access to, on a basic level, these just changing what we choose to eat. And no, it might not be from the best source or from the most organic or whatever, but just making the small shifts and small changes, and understanding how our gut health impacts all of these other areas that it has tendrils to. That's where I love to start with recommending your program, is that you wrap all of these pieces that we're all touching on all the time. Like, oh, you have this issue, you're going through a divorce, or you have inflammation, or I don't feel good, whatever. Like all of these things stem from, taking care of ourselves in these three pieces: mind, body, spirit, that I love that you pair, because I find so often in my realm that a lot of things are only touched on one piece of it. So that may be medicine or holistic or food or the gym, but it's not recognizing that a lot of our diseases start emotionally. And um, none of these things can really exist without the other, and really putting all those pieces together in a manner that's not stressful or honestly that expensive. And these are tools that you can use forever. It's not, oh, cool, I wasted my money. Cause I think that's a big hesitancy for a lot of people. There's a lot of, it was kind of a fad, I feel like 10 years ago, where it was like, ooh, try this new diet program, but I'm the only one that has access to it and I'll make it for you. And nobody else can understand how it was made. And, yeah, I, that's what I would like recommend, is that you really get to the core of what all of us are always feeling. All of us are feeling stressed. All of us are feeling, money issues at some point. Might not be all at the same time, and we might not all have the same things going on, but you touch on the most basics of humanity and how to move through all of life's stressors, whatever's happening and whenever they're happening. Is It doesn't have to be like, oh, I don't really care about gut health right now, I'm just trying to like figure this out, like it's all wrapped up into one nice little box. But
Wholesome package.
really, and you can get as much as you want out of it, or as little. I like that you offer that too, is that it's not like, okay, here's a fat commitment, because people are afraid of commitment too. It's like, oh, how much time is that, or what does that mean, and do I have to do a lot, or what does that look like? You have levels and options and flexibility, and pieces where that's really beneficial because yeah, maybe once someone gets a taste and they're like, okay, I'm fully in. But at first it's like, oh, what all really does that entail? Like, so I love, also telling people like, I love that you have the group coaching thing where it's like, you can literally just have, get a taste of it. It's not anything that's going to be overwhelming and, going to take over your life when you're already stressed. But
Oh, thank you so much, Nicole. So many good
thank you.
pieces. Is there
Thank you.
anything else that you feel like you want to add? Anything else you feel like you missed? I know that and thank you so much for preparing and writing notes and
Yeah.
really, really warms my heart.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, because like tapping into my root where I could feel my root, issues kind of stemming from, that has really freed up my relationship with like my time and my energy. Time and energy management has helped me. I'm nowhere near where I would like to be with, where you have a whole module dedicated to that, but I'm finding what works for me. And yeah, and like that, like, oh, I should be putting this all in a calendar. It's like, that's really not me. I'm not that like super type A. Um, it's like I'm like 50-50. I like to sometimes put things in a list, or I like when it's clear in my head, when my mind is clear, I can move. Like I am just yay on cloud nine. But um going back into my mind of like remembering our coaching calls and remembering these points and like hearing your voice and hearing, just really tapping in, like opening that box of inner wisdom, helps me continue to clear my mind and my energy. And I get to decide where I focus it and what I want from it, instead of it being this big scattered anxiety ball of mess like I used to. Yeah, it's really created a good, healthy balance of my energy and time management, um, whether it be work and like my personal life too. It's like a big, um, it's like a huge stress reliever and peaceful thing that's come over me, because even when I'm like getting ready and I feel overwhelmed that I, have to get ready and I also have to do these things, it's like I take it piece by piece and I like hear your voice in my head where it's like, how much time does it really take? Like I'm spending a lot more energy and time thinking about how much time that's going to take me and what all I have to do, instead of just like letting it be and, taking it piece by piece. It's been really useful in every aspect of my life, especially with my relationships too. It's been it's been truly crucial in helping me not take on the emotions of other people and not letting them impact how I feel. I can hold space for their emotions, but I'm not taking it as my own. That's been something that's really, I realized that I'm a people pleaser, and I realized that I will take on people's energy and then I will try to fix it, and it'll make it heavy for me. It'll make me anxious, or and I realized that I can do that up until a point, and then my cup is full, and then I explode, and then I'm internalizing unhealthy feelings and emotions. So, once again, just understanding and going back to these roots of everything, and like realizing how they bleed out and affect every other piece and every other part, has been really useful. So yeah, freeing up my mind energy and my time, because that directly impacts like what I'm able to focus on and do. And I'm so much more productive because I'm clear in my mind. So
Thank you for wrapping in that piece, because yeah, that's it. It's yeah, thank you for wrapping that in. It is. I feel like it's kind of, I mean, I also struggle with this, and that I struggle with this in my marketing, is like, how do I like wrap this up? How do I like actually say like, these pieces that are like core, and what do they ripple into, and how does yeah. So I really appreciate your lot of really beautiful articulation on how they connect. And yeah, thank you
ugh,
so much for your brain space and your heart and your energy and your time. And
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much,
Me
Nicole.
too. I feel like I had too much in my head and I was like, just barfing it all. But yeah, no, it's such a blessing that I was able to do this, even when I felt like I wasn't ready. I constantly am like think to myself like how grateful I am that I had this experience with you and continue to have. And it's always growing. It's forever part of me, and it's just really awesome. Another thing I want to add is we don't have to go to Costa Rica or go to these really far away places to find ourselves. Yeah, that's dope. Do that like if you want. But I was also like that piece of like I'll do it later. Like I will, you know. I always struggled with that, and it's helped me a lot in that regard. But we don't have to go to these extreme lengths to do ayahuasca or to do, you know, find a shaman or find someone who knows what we're thinking. Like all of these pieces are within us, and you just help like bring that out. And um, but those things can just be compounded on the basics and the fundamentals of what you're teaching and what you're reminding us and showing us of. Is like that's another thing I'm really grateful for, is that it's right here. It's not like something you have to spend a whole bunch of money on, or like this extravagant thing that you have to go. And that's also scary. And then what if you have a bad time? And then it's like all of these thoughts, you know, you offer something for everyone. It's not just people who are looking. It's, yeah, you're just an earth angel.
I love this. I love this Earth Angel label. I think I'll keep it.
You should own it.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. I'm going to push stop on the record button. You
Perfect.
ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.